All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Um, so this is kind of like a live I've been trying to do for a minute. Um, but it all kind of plays into what I wanted to present. So as you guys can hear in the background, my daughter is like doing all kinds of stuff. So, she was asleep and she went to bed earlier. And then I had to put my son to sleep. He went to sleep, and it's like they do like switching alternative shifts, right? So what I'm gonna do is kind of try to swing this while putting her back to sleep, right? So originally I was gonna start this live about 2 hours ago, but you know they got a little hyper. It's hard to put both of them to sleep at the same time. Um, And so now I have one instead of two. So that's easier. A lot of times I do end up having at least one of them. So, well, anyway, I wanted to kind of talk about this subject of uh, like where young women like myself, where we kind of are when it comes to women who are supposed to be like elders, somebody for us to look up to. And so just for the sake of the algorithm, I put modern because and I'm going to be actually looking at different groups and stuff, but I guess I'll just start out here. So one thing that I constantly complain about is not being able to have like a mentor or have somebody that I can like talk to personally about like I don't know, kind of showing me the ropes on what to expect um, being married, raising children, things of the like, right? So something interesting happened before I got married. I was trying to pick a lot of women's brains about it. I see marriage as something that's permanent, and my thing is like eh, I wanted to have somebody to talk to about it before I took that step, right? Um, And so I found before I even got married that it was going to be difficult, right? Um, to even have an idea on what to expect. Now, specifically, um, as a Black woman in particular, um, I found that it's easier to talk about being in a relationship. It's easy to talk about raising your kids or even co-parenting. But the minute that you're talking about raising a family, it gets kind of fuzzy, right? So this morning, technically, well, I'm on the East Coast, so like it's 12 o'clock over here. So it's like this morning. But tonight, I just kind of wanted to kind of talk about what we see. Like women like me, they're just like regular, ordinary women, you know. We're just like, okay, get married, settle down, have kids. I'm pretty sure it sounds cliche or boring. Um, and I mean, I'm like learning it as I go, right? So like even now, like had both kids sleep, everything seemed to be going perfect, perfectly. Um, and then as soon as I get up and turn the computer on, one of my kids is just wide awake, right? Now, oftentimes when we're talking about kids, everybody's got kids. Anybody has kids, right? So everybody always has something to say about having kids. But in the context of raising your children in a marriage, that conversation oftentimes is like crickets, right? Nobody has anything to say about that. And lately I've been finding like, most people have gone online. you know um, Most people are talking about things on the internet as opposed to actually dealing with each other in person. So I kind of wanted to start off with I guess, how do I put it, if I were to go to an elder, what this would look like, right? So here we go here. Cool, cool, cool. Still setting it up. Okay, so this is typically, the person that I would talk to, when it comes to like marriage and stuff like that. And it'll blow your mind, like, because a lot of these people, they've been women. I'm looking at women in particular. They've been married for a very, very long time, right? So you would think that if somebody's been married for that long, they would have something to contribute. But oftentimes you get things like this.
But there are some things that might make you pause. So before you do that, let's get into the downsides of living on a cruise ship, especially living solo on a cruise ship like I am. Hey y'all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I'm Linnell. I sold everything and now I live on cruise ships full time. I sold my house, left a toxic marriage, quit a toxic job, and now I travel the world with just a small suitcase and a backpack. If this video is a blessing to you, I want to encourage you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on notifications. Hit the bell for all notifications so that you never ever miss another video. And follow me on my journey from poverty to paradise. The first thing, space. Oh my goodness. Okay, so take your current bedroom, cut it in half. Now squeeze a queen size bed and a couple of nightstands and everything that you need to live into that half of a bedroom. That's what your cabin is going to look like, okay? And then the bathroom, I mean, if you've been on a cruise, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's about the size. I would say take your current bathroom and cut that in half, and that's what your bathroom is. And sometimes it's even smaller than that. Some cruise cabin bathrooms can be small, like picture the if you've been on an airplane before, picture the airplane lavatories. Yeah. A lot of people have talked about how they have to parallel park when they're getting into the shower. That space can definitely make you rethink living on a cruise ship. All right, so the next thing is noise. The cabins on cruise ships are paper thin. So if you're the type of person that you might want to spend a significant amount of time in your cabin, like I do, then you have to think about that because when I'm sailing, especially if there's a connecting room, but even if it's not a connecting room, even if it's just a room the only even if it's an interior room and the only way out is through the door, the walls can still be paper thin. I have heard so many things while I'm in my cabin that was disturbing to me, where I put the pillow over my head, I put earplugs in. A few times I had to call guest services to let them know what's going on, but you hear everything. You hear things from, like, depending on what deck you're on, you might hear the noise from the theater. You might hear karaoke singing at 2 o'clock in the morning. You
Okay, so she goes on and on and on, but basically, I think this is a pretty good channel to check out. It is interesting content. Um, but one thing that I really, really want to lean on is this right
If
here.
this video is a blessing to you, I want to encourage you pause. So before you do that, let's get into the downsides of living on a cruise ship, especially living solo on a cruise ship like I am. Hey y'all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I'm Linnell. I sold everything and now I live on cruise ships full time. I sold my house, left.
Okay, this is the part that I wanted to truly focus on, right? So this whole sold my business, sold my house, sold my car, and I like how she advertised, how she talked about her marriage, like I got out of a toxic relationship. And I have to say, like, before I got married, when I would ask women, questions about being married, it was never like, I don't want to say constructive, but I kind of want to use that word. It's always like, beware of your husband type. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess, like, and I have to be objective because I think oftentimes people get married for the wrong reasons, right? So this really stood out to me. And I mean, like I said, she's a great content creator. And, I looked at more of it, but I just kind of wanted to lean on this point of um, young women who are just trying to raise their families and that's it. These are the type of people that give their 2 cents white a bit, right? Um, Now, as you guys can hear in the background, my daughter, who has been asleep for like hours, is now up just doing her thing as if it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Oh, you dropped your toy, Momo. You want to get your toy? And you have to do this. Now, this is just a parent, right? Hey, 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 hey. All right. Want to get your toy? What you trying to? I don't know what you're trying to do. You trying? What you trying to do, Mama's? You sleepy? I know you sleepy. So this is like, just raising a family. Yeah, that's tough. Like raising a child. Yeah, that's tough. Like a lot of the things that, women like me, before we even get into starting a family, the first conversation we always have is about how, marriages work. And then it's always, like I said, it's always like, beware of your husband, or your husband is going to be some kind of a problem or something like that. And I have to say, like, okay, granted, I've been married for a pretty short time, especially compared to most people. I've been married going on 5 years, right? And I have to say, the main issue I've had with being married is coordination, really. And, I know 5 years is not a long time. It's still enough time to figure things out. However, I hope that I don't have a midlife crisis or a late life. I should say late life crisis, because a lot of these clips I'm showing is like women like in their 40s and beyond, right? So it's like, and I think it'll do more justice as I talk about it in the video. But this idea of what was the point of having a house, a car, a business, a marriage? I understand now why men, especially these days, you know, they're hesitant. I've heard clips of women complaining about how men don't commit and things like that. But if you could just imagine deciding to be with somebody for the rest of your life, and when you're getting older, that person bails on you. So, and I will give myself this benefit of the doubt, is that I did get married like later on. So, I mean, maybe that plays a role with these women, but I just think it's kind of scary, and it's pretty sad that, young women who just want to live a regular life, they pretty much have these group of women to choose from. Um, Especially these days. Like, we're always talking about like our grandma, our grandpa, and all that, and how they took care of the family and all this other stuff. We're always talking about stuff like that. But in our generation, I, in this day and age, it's very common to see somebody um, who's in the same boat as like a 20-year-old. Like, you could see a like a 50-year-old, 40-year-old still thinking like, younger people. Um, and in my opinion, that's kind of scary. A lot of people talk about, oh, it was a different time period, or they love to say things like, oh, women didn't have education, or they didn't have options then. And I will pose the argument that with all the access to what we have today, we've done a whole lot less. If anything, we've made a whole lot more messes. It's like the easier life gets for us, the more complicated we make things. So that was the first example of somebody that I was like, that's kind of is not. I know it's extreme that she's like living on a boat, well, living on a cruise ship. Just imagine like when you go on a cruise and take a vacation with your family and stuff. Um, you look over and there's somebody who literally lives there. Like something like that's supposed to be, I guess, like a getaway for your family is actually somebody's everyday life, right? So like I can understand how women can be overwhelmed or they could want their freedom and stuff like that. I mean, even now, I mean, raising my family, as you can see and hear in the background. Oh, you are. She goes to play. Um, I can understand how people who get married really quick, they may feel like, oh, like they didn't spend their younger years having a good time and everything, so then they try to catch up as they get older. But I don't know. I got another clip here that I that I wanted to share, but yeah, women living on a cruise ship, kind of wild, right? So not that one. Let's see if I can pick this one up. Mm, I want the 53. Oh, is that it? I want the is it the 57? No. Yes, this is the one.
So that's one of the first things. Look, y'all, my nails are all chipped. I need to take that off, but it's good. And the second thing is our parents are just parents. And you can't go through life saying, I wish they would have raised me better. You can go through life like that if you want to, but you're going to be wasting a lot of energy on nothing. And you can use it for something else. But they did the best they could with the tools they knew how to. You got to remember your grandparents are the one that raised them. So they doing the best that they can. And believe it or not, some of us probably will turn into our parents. So it's like, they did the best that they could. So going around blaming your parents for the way your life is, it's a waste of time. It's a
I wanted to say this too. I feel like the older generation is really super duper out of touch with um, younger people. So, like this idea that hey, you gotta keep in mind that your grandparents raised your parents, right? Um, I know quite a few people whose grandparents did not raise their parents, me included, right? So it's like I feel like what happened back in the day is that there would be times when there was issues in the family, and he go, "Mama, sorry, y'all," and you would have like, and I have to say, I had this part of the family too. I was on this side where it was like my side of the family was going through a lot, and then the other side of the family seemed to be doing fine. So then it was like the side of the family that's not doing so, like that used to be doing fine, it seems like they're having a rough go at it. It's like it's switched. So like this idea that, oh my god, like you can't be hard on your parents because your grandparents did the best they could. That is, in my mind, I feel like no. A lot of grandparents and even great grandparents, and some of these folks that have kids at 15, great grandparents, great, or whatever. No, they didn't do the best they could. So like sometimes I would go for advice, and these folks they would be talking like this, and I'd be like, "Were you?" And it's so crazy. It would be people that's actually in the family that know things that have happened in the family. Um, and being like, your grandpa did the best he could, or grandma did. And I'm like, yo, that's not true. It's just not true. So sometimes, women like me who are young and I'm not trying to be in the streets or anything like that. I'm just trying to raise my family and stuff. I go talk to these folks, and it's like what planet they're on, right? And then I pick their brains about their marriages, and it just kind of gets shady from there.
a waste of energy. The third thing, so the third thing that I was a big thing for me because the relationship that I was in for 22 years with my husband.
I'm gonna run that back one more time.
So the third thing that I was a big thing for me because the relationship that I was in for 22 years with my husband.
This is another thing. Minimizing a 22-year marriage into a relationship. Like I'm starting to understand red pill content. Like like I'm starting to understand why men don't want to get married. I'm starting to get it. Like 22 years. Like, like sometimes me and my husband we talk about, relationships or choices that we've made in the past or things like that that affect us today. And one thing that he stresses a lot about is that there's a difference between being married and there's a difference between being in a relationship. When you're with somebody, keeping your vows for 22 years, 22 years, like, God, man, that means, see, they got married when I was 11. Like I was in middle school, right? So that's some real time. And so to just think about that is like I couldn't imagine like what her ex-husband could have gone through to have endured 2 decades and 2 years. Because I mean, let's just flip it. Let's say if a man who divorced his wife after 22 years, let's say if he tried to minimize his relationship with her and say, "Oh, it was just a 22-year relationship." Boyfriends and girlfriends are in relationships. You know, business partners, they have relationships. This is a marriage, right? A marriage, the nature of it is so far different. So just just that alone, like for me, and maybe it's just that I haven't really I haven't really been around. I don't know if I want to say been around. I'm not suggesting this lady has been with person to person, but what has to go through a person's mind? And maybe when I get to my 22-year mark of marriage, you know, because maybe I'll understand it better. Because in my mind, it just comes off like almost like a lack of respect, right? Like a man has given 22 years of his life to this woman, and she goes, a 22-year relationship.
This is a big one. You can't change anybody. Don't even think about it. Because if you do, you're going to be severely disappointed. That person is who they are. And more than likely, unless Jesus Christ himself comes, that's the only way they're going to change. Change takes, for a person to change, it takes work. Like now, I can see myself changing and evolving because I work on it every single day. So just think if you're sitting there and you're trying to change somebody else, you're trying to put things into them. I went so far as to the way I was trying to change.
Let me just pause before it gets worse. So I guess I was just raving about, how do you deal with somebody for 22 years? How do you be married for 22 years and then you reduce it to a relationship? This is the thing that I think about. The fact that she said, I could not change him. So I think a lot of times people get married because they feel like, hey, this is what this person is today. And maybe I can deal with this person and change them into what I want them to be. So basically, I don't see me personally. The way that I look at relationships is it's like a double-edged sword. It has to go both ways. So if a man can't go pick a woman from the woman tree and say, hey, this is what I want to mold you into being, then that's the same for a woman, right? Like if a man were to find a woman and be like, you need to be this and you need to do that and you need to look like this, dress like this, society would look at that man like he's crazy, right? On the flip side, if a woman gets with a guy and be like, yeah, I'm gonna wait you gotta wait a while for you to change or to make you into something that I want. It's like that's more acceptable, right? So like this is the type of advice like this is the type of stuff that um women like me we kind of have to sort through when we get advice from people. Like, could you imagine if I went to this person? Hey, mama. Could you imagine if I went to this person? Oh, you got your toy. You got your toy. If I went to this person, let's say she was married 10 years in, and I'm looking to get married, right? And I go to her and I say, hey, you and your husband, y'all been together for 10 years. You know, what can you give me any tips or can you tell me what to look out for? And this is what comes out, right? It's kind of scary. Let's run it back. You go to ask about marriage advice. What can I do to be a good wife? And this is what you get.
Day. So just think if you're sitting there and you're trying to change somebody else, you're trying to put things into them. I went so far as to the way I was trying to change my husband. I would listen to affirmations at that time. I told you guys that I was into the law of attraction real deep. And it's some things that I still do of it because like they are based on biblical principles. But at that time, I was listening to frequencies and stuff like that. And those things right there, especially off of YouTube, you don't know what's in them. So I was putting on frequencies for him when he would sleep. Okay. So this wasn't his permission or anything like that, it's trying to change him. And I really don't know what I was putting in my husband's head because I don't know what was in those videos at that time. But this is what I mean about being like delusional as far as trying to change somebody else. You
So, yeah. So, like, this woman wanted her husband to be what she wanted him to be so bad that she actually put on like frequencies while he was sleeping. Hey, mama. Hey, mama. Hey, mama. She put on frequencies while he was sleeping, which is crazy, obviously. Could you imagine if you were with somebody that didn't like you? Already disturbing enough in and of itself. But then on top of that, that person puts on some kind of music and plays it while you're sleeping in hopes that tomorrow morning you're going to be a different person, right? These are the kind of folks that give women like me advice when it comes to marriage, when it comes to raising a family. And another thing that I think is pretty disturbing, Jazz is chiming in. Another thing I think is pretty disturbing is that she was saying, oh, this is all based off of biblical principles. So I'm like, anytime something doesn't make sense or it doesn't work, be careful, mama. You can't just throw God in it, which is something that's pretty common. Um, and so, yeah, this is the type of stuff that basically I realized that if I'm going to raise my family, if I'm going to have kids and things like that, I'm just going to have to map it out. I just have to figure it out. Because the idea that someone could be like, if your husband is not what you want him to be, you could play like these frequencies and maybe the next morning he'll change. And, you know, this is not, how to put it, this is not feasible. Like this is not normal, right? And I feel like women from, I won't say like yesteryear, but like from back in the day, this whole idea that we're gonna go and read a book or download an app and fix the problem, that that's something that the generation before us didn't have. I don't even think that we truly understand the sanctity of marriage like these days. And like I said before, like I've been going down this rabbit hole of like studying, everything that's going on the internet, right? Like the whole what you call it, the red pill space. I've been studying that because this internet is wild. Let me get that, mama. This internet is wild, and it's just endless. And now I understand. Like I can get why guys are like, yeah, there's no way they're getting married because if you literally have people trying to change who you are in your sleep, that's kind of scary, right? So that's just something that I kind of wanted to share. Um, I'm gonna go on ahead and put the baby to sleep. She's playing around and stuff. So, but I do appreciate everybody who dropped into the live and everything. But this is the type of stuff that I be thinking about because I'm like, there are generations after us, and they don't really have anybody that they can, pick from. Um, and I found that with me, like I've been going to people and being like, I don't understand where they're coming from. I don't understand what they're talking about. But the more that I dip into like the internet and stuff like that, the more that I start to realize like, oh yeah, if you just read some book on love languages and stuff like that, then you should be able to make your marriage work. But clearly with these two women, it didn't work with their husbands, right? But anyhow, you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and log off. I appreciate the time. I appreciate everybody who chimed in and everything. And I'll catch you guys on the next live.